If you watch Say Yes to the Dress, then you know that in the hands of a skilled seamstress, a simple needle can become a magic wand. My guest tonight has that magic wand and she knows how to use it. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Weddings with Zita. Here's your host and producer, Zita Christian.
Hi everyone, welcome. I am delighted to be able to introduce you tonight to a woman who gives a whole background, a whole behind the scene look at the type of thing that happens on the wedding shows that focus on the bridal gown. Her name is Mollie Frish, and she is the former owner of a bridal salon down in West Palm Beach, Florida, and now she is a bridal seamstress here in Connecticut. Mollie, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You know, I started putting together the questions, and I thought, my gosh, I could talk with you for several days, so I'll tell you that right up front. So we're going to just go right through here. I have so many questions, and I know from some of the comments that I've gotten from viewers that this is something they'll be very interested in, and I have not had a bridal seamstress on the show before. So I want to get just a couple basic things first so people can kind of anchor the information. So we're taping this for those of you who are watching all over the world. We're taping in Manchester, Connecticut. Mollie, what's your service area? Where do brides come from?
All of Connecticut. I have a few coming from
Springfield, New York,
yes,
maybe?
Springfield. I do have some come from New York, but mostly in all of Connecticut.
Okay, and is this walk-in or by appointment only?
It is by appointment only, since
Okay.
it's a home studio.
Okay, that makes total sense then. So how do brides find you? Because I know you're watching and you're going to be telling your friends, oh, I saw this wonderful show and I have somebody who needs to know you, needs to meet you. How do people find you?
A lot of people find me on Google. Many people find me on Facebook, on Connecticut Wedding Swap, where they talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And most, I would say, is from referrals.
I can imagine, absolutely can imagine. One of the things that occurred to me when I first started talking with you, when we did a little pre-show interview, and I thought, well, what about, why would a bride come to you when she's bought her dress? And most bridal salons, at least as far as I know, have their own seamstress.
Many times bridal salons don't do customization, or they don't have really truly experienced seamstresses, although many do.
Well, what is not customization? What is something that would be standard or basic?
Standard and basic is a hem, a bustle, and taking in side seams, and even a bustle is sometimes considered customization.
Oh, okay. Okay, now I understand even a deeper meaning behind some of the photos that you shared with me, because there's a whole lot more going on there than a simple alteration. Thinking about some of those more substantial alterations, I looked through your website, and of course I get all the wedding magazines. I'm always watching Say Yes to the Dress, both in New York and Kleinfeld and down in Atlanta. And I'm looking, and there's, a bride will say, oh, I like everything about this dress, but I want to change the neckline, or I like this, but I want straps, or I want a sleeve, or I don't want this, or I want netting in the back. I mean, there's just so many different things, and all of that is beyond basic.
That is
correct?
Beyond basic, and that's what I love to do.
All right, now we have a bunch of photos tonight, so I want to pull the first one up, and we'll talk about this one. There's a before and after. Oh, here we are. This beautiful all-white gown. Now, what was it that the bride wanted?
She wanted to have a cobalt blue incorporated in her gown because her engagement ring was a sapphire.
Oh, how beautiful.
And she wanted a swath of it down the back and appliques and trim. and everything, and to have it a touch of it on the bodice also.
All right, so let's take a look at the other photo after you did your magic work here with this gown. That is stunning. That is just stunning.
Wasn't even finished yet.
So I can see where you've got the the little echo of the blue up around the waist, and then you've got this gorgeous inset, and then the white lace applique on top of it. That is just beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, in that same line, let's pull up the next photo, and this is, we don't have a before, we have the after, and this next one is the white gown with black lace. That is elegant. Tell me the story behind this one.
The young lady came to me with this white dress that she had purchased, and she said she had been to 2 other seamstresses who had told her absolutely not. They would not consider putting black lace on a wedding dress. One even told her it was unethical.
Oh my.
And I said, show me your pictures. What do you want? What is your vision? This is her dress, whatever she wants.
There's no fashion police. Let's like
No,
get the fashion
there is
police
no
out.
fashion
No,
police.
no. All right, so she wants black lace. And how do you get?
I went to New York. I had her on standby.
Okay.
And I texted her photographs of
my gosh.
lace
Okay.
along the way, telling her pros and cons of different ones so that she could choose it right on the spot by video. And then purchased it and brought it back, and we put it together.
Oh, Molly, that's beautiful. That's the kind of thing a bride wants. They want that kind of experience and want to know that the whole process of the creation of the dress, the alteration of the dress, any kind of modifications, it's personal.
It's very personal.
Yeah.
It's the most important and the most expensive dress she's ever purchased.
Yes,
And it's her vision. It's her heart.
for sure it is. I'm curious about the steps that you would take before you actually make the alteration. So let's say a bride comes in, and she comes in for the very first time. She's come to talk with you, and let's say her wedding is, I don't know, 10 months, a year from now. And
Which is far.
okay, so let's say it's like maybe 6 months.
Or even 6 weeks.
Ooh, ouch. Okay, so let's say we're looking at 6 weeks, and she is determined she's gonna drop 20 pounds. So what do you do?
I tell her, how have you done in your weight loss journey up until this point? How consistent has it been? And let's set an end date, say 4 weeks before your wedding, and at that date, we are going to alter you to that fit. Should you lose weight after that, that would be wonderful. I'll be happy to re-alter it. It would be additional cost, of course, but I give her as much time as we possibly can with whatever work or customization she needs to do.
All right, so let's say that you're taking in a dress, and let's say those couple weeks go by, and the bride has been under a lot of stress, and she has gained weight. Well, what happens now if you've already pulled those seams in?
I always leave all of the seam allowance inside.
Oh,
I
smart.
don't cut
Yeah.
anything away. You can't predict the future.
Yeah, that's very, very smart. All right, let's talk a little bit about one of the subjects I know that the viewers are going to want to talk about, and that's the fees. I heard, this goes back, I've been doing weddings, officiating at weddings for about 7 years now, and I remember years ago, the conversation was that you would expect to pay a certain percentage of the cost of the dress for alterations. And I always thought, how could that be? Because the cost of dresses vary so much. So is that true?
Not in the least.
Okay.
Not at all in the least.
Didn't make any sense to me at all.
No, it doesn't. You can have a very, very expensive dress that only needs minor alterations, and she walks out with a low fee.
Yeah.
You can have a very cheap dress where she wants soup to nuts, and it ends up being 2 or 3 times the cost of the dress, which is rare. But you can't.
It's not
you
the
can't-
percentage.
No, it's definitely
that's
not
kinda
the
crazy.
percentage.
So let's say one of the high end stores that we might see on television, flat fee for alterations. You could see it on their website. Flat fee $695 for alterations. What kind of alterations do you get? usually?
With standard, that would be considered standard alterations, and she would get side seams, hem, and possibly a bustle. However, if she needs any customization, if she needs to have bust darts, if she needs to have lace added here or there, that is not included. That's considered customization. So those are standard alterations. As opposed to coming to a specific seamstress, if you charge $6.95, what if the only thing she needs is to have the side seams taken in a little? She's paid a small fortune for something that would have cost her a quarter of the price.
And by the same token, let's say the bride brings her dress to you, and you can look at it and say, yes, all you need is this little something, but what if the bride needs more? So for most private seamstresses, is it a charge? Is it a flat fee? Is it an hourly?
Most seamstresses will calculate their own time in their own head and quote a price quoted on what it's going to cost them in time. I set an hourly standard fee, and I keep track of my hours right down to the 15-minute increments, actually 7-minute increments, and that bride gets every bit of that so that it's accurate and it's fair to the bride.
And then that way the bride doesn't hesitate to say, I really like that, but could you add some of this? And because she knows that you can do that, and she'll pay for it, and so everybody knows, everybody's up and up about what's going to happen.
That's correct. And also I usually have 4 to 5 fittings, and at each fitting she can look at the back and see where we're at as far as time is concerned, and be able to do her own calculations or ask me, so she'll know where she is as far as her budget is concerned.
Why 4 or 5 fittings?
Every alteration affects another alteration. So if you take up shoulders and then you do the hem and you do the alteration, you find that, oh, now we need to take in the sides. The sides are going to pull the hem up, and you've ruined the hem. So if you do it in steps, do the bodice, then the hem, then the bustle, etc. In sequence, you don't have to have any redos whatsoever, and the bride gets to see what it is as she goes along.
Of course, of course. So when you're looking at a dress and the bride, can you estimate like how many times she's going to need to come in? Like, can you look and say you're going to need a this and a this and a this and a
yes, right from the
hem
beginning, I can tell her.
Okay, good.
We're going to need 3 fittings. We're going to need 5 fittings.
All right.
And we schedule those all on the first day that she comes, so that she'll be able to do her own wedding planning with her photographer, cake decorator, et cetera, and not wonder, gee, when am I going to get my dress? Where is my dress? Is the seamstress going to call? Should I call her? She needs to be able to sleep at night.
Very true, very true. You know, one of the things that I've often wondered, and I don't see it addressed, not to any extent anyway, on the dress shows on television, are the undergarments. And they're critical.
Yes, they are.
So do you say to the bride, bring in the undergarments you've purchased for this, or do you say, just come in and let me show you what you need?
I tell her to come in with what she has already purchased, but please don't go out and purchase anything, because I do carry all of the bras, the slips, the bra cups, and the undergarments, and many times it's important to be able to assess exactly what she needs with her in her dress. If she comes in with a preconceived idea with this corset bra that so-and-so bridal salon has sold to her, and we find out that all she needs is bra cups, she's wasted money on a corset bra.
Sure. And there are different cups designed for different dresses, different fabrics,
different kinds. I'm finding now that many of the sheer bodices, I'll have to cover that with flesh-colored fabric so that it doesn't show through, and it matches her skin tone, and that's a very important part.
There's so much to this. What about the comfort level for the undergarments? I mean, it's been a long time since I got married, and certainly back then, I mean, things were horribly painful. I mean, it was just like It's like, oh, you just don't breathe.
They can be uncomfortable. It's I always try to put them in bra cups depending on their size and what works best for them, and to find the most comfortable bra for her. She does have to wear this all day,
Yeah.
and not turn blue or not turn
Exactly.
red every time she sits down.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, you touched a moment ago on a bustle, and I have a couple pictures here that I want to look at. One of them, oh, here we go. Here is this gorgeous gown, no bustle,
That's with her dress extended.
with her
yes.
dress extended. Now, that's beautiful. And I look at that and I think, what happens and when they get to the reception and she wants to dance? She can't dance in that. All right, so let's look at the next picture, and that shows this same gown, but with a bustle. So talk to me about what this is.
This is called a flip bustle, where everything goes up underneath the dress and it essentially creates a bubble hem in the back. And it looks as if it has never had a train in the first place. This is, of course, for when she wants to dance and move
Right.
around and walk in reverse, which you can't do with a train extended. It gets it out of her way. A bustle is a solution to a problem. And the problem is that you have all this dress and you want to move and you want to have a good time at your reception. What do? You don't want to throw it over your arm.
Right.
And that's part of my job, is to design a bustle that works for the dress. And every dress requires a different kind of bustle.
Oh my gosh, Molly, I had no idea. I didn't know that.
Yes.
All right, so then, you don't like go into a store and send me to the bustle department and pick out something. That's,
No, not only that, but no dress comes with a bustle, and that's a misconception. A lot of brides come in and say, well, how is it bustled? I couldn't find the bustles. Dresses are not designed with bustles at all. They are designed to be out and a beautiful train and in your magazines so that you'll buy a dress.
of course.
It's up to me, the seamstress, to design that bustle to make it functional for her.
All right, that's good to know. And then who does, let's say the ceremony's over and now the bride's in the reception, who bustles that dress? I mean, who hooks
Whoever
it up?
she wants. On the very last fitting, I have the bride bring her bustle buddy.
Okay.
Whoever she chooses,
whole different kind
one
of
to two
bestie.
people, yes, as long as they can read. That's
All
all. It can be a 5-year-old, 10-year-old. I had a 6-year-old do it once, as long as she can read. And I teach that person how to put the bustle up on the day of the wedding for that particular dress. And what I hear more than anything, oh, that was so easy. Oh, I thought this was going to be complicated. Oh, well, when I did Susan's wedding, it took us a half an hour to put it up. This needs to be something easy and simple. They have better things to do on their wedding day than to fight with a bustle.
But the idea of creating a bustle that will be easy to work with, that
Is what I
is a
do.
reflection on the skill of the seamstress.
That's what I do.
Of course. All right.
And I do lay awake at night thinking of different ways to make it easier, more functional, quicker, and prettier.
There's a lot to think about in terms of wedding dresses. See, now, I can tell you already, next time I watch Say Yes to the Dress, I'm going to watch with new eyes. And I thought I was pretty, I don't know, knowledgeable about some of the stuff that was going on. But there's way more to this world. Let's talk a little bit about the gown itself. Now, I know when a bride is buying a gown, they're always saying, allow plenty of time and, to have the dress made and have it come in. What about for the alterations? Like, how much time do you need? What's your lead time?
I like to have 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
I can do it overnight if necessary, and I've done it many, many times, and that's even complete with redesigning.
All right. One of the things I wanted to talk with you about today, just a little bit, common problems of buying online. Because you hear the horror stories, and I know that you have a little sample of something here to show us.
I do. This is only a small sample, but I had a young lady who wanted this veil,
Very pretty.
which has simple rhinestones around the edge. See if I can get
Very
this to where you
delicate.
can see it.
All right.
And they're very tiny. She wanted it in ivory, and she wanted 2 tiers. And I thought, well, gee, this is, I see one of those online cheap from China. I can get that for her and save her a lot of money. Well, this is what I got. This has plastic costume rhinestones. Here, go this way.
Here, let me take that.
They're plastic costume rhinestones. It does not even go all the way around the edge. Only goes part way. The veil is only not even 20 inches wide.
This is awful, and I can tell
it's
you.
all ratty on the ends.
I can also tell you,
And there's no rhinestones on the lower level
this is
whatsoever.
terrible. This is terrible. And this doesn't look like a wedding veil.
It's not.
Net.
It's
This
actually
is-
net that you use for decorating.
Okay, so enough on that one. It's like, okay, lesson learned. You've got to, if you're bright out there in the audience and you're going to get ready to go wedding shopping, you've got to go to the shop so you can see everything that you're
Yes, you
looking at.
do.
All right.
You do.
Here's one of the big ones I wanted to talk about, and we don't have a lot of time, but there's a photo here of a gown, not this one, I think number 16. There's a gown, it's on a hanger, and this was the bride who wanted a gown with tight lace sleeves and,
Yes.
and netting across the top. That's not this at all.
No, she loved this gown. And we ordered extra lace and netting and beading and all of that. And she wanted a higher neckline with a long fitted sleeve.
All right, let's take a look at the next photo so we can see how that turned out. That is gorgeous. That
She was
is
very happy.
gorgeous. I can't get over the transformation of that dress.
She was
of what
very
you were
happy.
able to do with that. All right, I want to touch just a minute here on. I know that in the past you've done some work with dyeing gowns
I have.
in colors, and so if somebody says I want a champagne gown or I want the blush pink.
I do a lot of blush pink, actually.
This was a bride's mother's gown, and that was, I think, photo 18. This was the bride's mother's gown. I thought how beautiful. I mean, it fit the bride, and she could have worn it, but it had, looking at the shoulder and looking at the hem, and you repurposed this one. Let's take a quick look at.
When she came in with this dress, she said, "Here is my mother's wedding dress. It was from the 1970s. She was the hippie type." She says, "Oh my, what can we do? I'd love to wear it to rehearsal dinner to honor my mother."
All right, so let's see what you did with that gown.
We took all of the drape off, made a
Yes.
racer back, and shortened it considerably, and tapered it in the sides so that it had a fit.
Beautiful. And so I'm curious, was the mom there when you cut that dress, when you first made that cut?
Actually, she wasn't.
Okay.
She wasn't, but when she saw it afterwards, she was very happy.
Did she know it was going to happen?
I don't remember.
Okay. I'm just curious because there used to be a show
I
on
imagine there
television.
would. I imagine she would know, though.
Yeah, I would hope so. There was a show on television a while back where, the mother's gown was repurposed for the daughter. And I remember sometimes seeing like that agony on the mother's face before there go the scissors. And it's like, you don't go backwards.
Actually, I see that every time I cut a hem.
Oh, I bet.
And I warn them ahead of time.
Yeah, here comes the shock. And
Yeah, don't panic. I do know what I'm doing.
just keep breathing. All right, there is. Oh, well, we have to talk at least for a minute about the royal wedding. So we just had the beautiful royal wedding, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And Claire Waite Keller did that beautiful Givenchy dress. And what I'm always curious about is people talked, people who are making the commentary on the wedding, talking about the dress being a classic. What makes a dress a classic?
It is completely subjective. It is what your heart tells you. If you feel this is classic, then it's classic. I have seen girls who put on dresses with all the bells and the whistles and the bubbles and all of this and say, "Oh, it's so classic." It's how you feel. Classic is a feeling.
I never thought of it that way. I always thought it was something that was like dictated by a fashion industry.
A fashion industry is going to do that.
Well, and there's the fashion
And give-
police all over again.
Yes, and they're going to put their labels on everything. They have to have television too.
Of course. All right, so we have two more photos. And this first one, is a veil, and it's on a dress form here. So
This
me
is the
about
photograph
this
that I
one.
sent to the bride after she had described to me what she wanted and brought me lace that she had special ordered that matched her gown. And so I made it, and I took this photograph and sent it to the bride.
Now I'm curious. I saw this photo, and well, obviously the first thing I looked at was the lace, but then I noticed the ironing board sitting over on the side, and I thought, all right, practical. Look at the practical. What kind of setting do you use on an iron to work on lace like that and a veil like that?
Hot.
You're kidding.
But I also use press cloths. I use Swiss organdy as a press cloth. I use lots
okay.
of steam, and I always test first.
Okay, all right. Because I thought, that's a whole nother skill right there on the little side part of that
You do
picture.
have to be very careful, and veils really should not be pressed. And they shouldn't be steamed. They don't respond to steam, and pressing, you can just melt them.
Oh, okay, but when you know what you're doing, that's different. All right, now the last photo, and this is the picture of the bride on her wedding day, and she's wearing that dress, and that veil is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
This was her favorite photograph of all of her photographs.
Beautiful. Well, that leads me to the last question I want to ask you, Mollie. And and I just want to make sure that you and the viewing audience know this is Mollie Frish, and she is an accomplished seamstress, bridal seamstress. You're the one who makes the magic happen. I know that you are friends with Lori Allen from Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta, and I watch that show and I see the images, I see the emotional reaction of the bride when she sees herself with the veil, for the first time. And I want you to tell me a little bit about what you think about the emotional attachment to the dress and the feeling that bride is feeling that first time she sees herself.
Well, many girls have an illusion from the time they're a child of, I want to be this, I want to be a wood nymph, I want to be a princess. It's how they feel inside. And when they find that dress and they start putting on the veil and see the whole illusion, all of a sudden they see their vision.
The dream.
A wedding gown is an emotional dress.
It sure is.
It is the most expensive gown she has ever worn in her life. It's an emotional thing.
Mollie, I love ending on that very upbeat note. It is like living a dream. So thank you very, very much for coming and being on the show, sharing so much valuable, helpful information to the viewers. And I want to say a thank you, obviously, to Mollie Frish. I want to say a thank you to my crew and to you in the viewing audience. In a strong marriage, happiness is co-created. Remember to do your part. And join us again next time. Thank you.
And thank you.
Are you planning a wedding or renewing your vows? Let today's leading wedding vendors inspire and guide you. To learn about upcoming guests and join the discussion, like us on Facebook, Zita TV. Weddings with Zita is a program of Moon River Rituals. For more information, visit zitatv.com.